Welcome to What the Flick, everybody. Ben Mankiewicz, Matt Atchity, Alonso Duralde. Christy Lemire is in a meeting. Can't be here. An important meeting. So I think it's fair to say the flight was eagerly anticipated. I was eager in my anticipation.
I think we were all eager to see Zemeckis get back to working with real actors and not just doing animated stuff.
First time since Castaway, which was what, 03?
20 years ago?
Something like that, yeah. Although I would have liked to have seen Denzel Washington in one of those, leotards with the ping pong balls on it. That would have been kind of cool.
Who wouldn't like to see that? All right,
I
Matt,
think Denzel would not like to see that.
So
the story here is Denzel Washington is an airline pilot who has a drinking problem, but he manages to fly anyway, it seems, does not go according to the rule, which is 24 hours bottled throttle, gets on the plane having been up all night and drinking on the plane while he's flying, kind of a rough situation. The plane starts to crash. Something goes terribly, terribly wrong. As you said, pulls kind of a Sullenberger out, manages to miraculously land this, or mostly land this plane, saves almost everyone on board. Hailed as a hero, but it turns out maybe the NTSB is going to find out he was drinking. Can he face his demons? Can he hide his alcoholism? It keeps you wondering till the end. It gets melodramatic, but we should watch the trailer.
Captain Whitaker is a real American hero.
This is Hugh Lang. He's an attorney from Chicago. Why do we need a lawyer?
You don't remember having your blood drawn the night of the crash?
You had alcohol in your system. That could be life in prison.
So one of the reviews that I read talked about how this becomes a male Lifetime movie, and it reminded me that we see these kind of stories about alcoholics or addicts of any sort in their road toward sobriety. Lately, more about women, I think. Whether in the Meredith Baxter, I think, has made a whole career out of them, and there's that movie Smash that's out right now. So I don't know. I do watch this. It kind of reminded me that you used to see movies like Lost Weekend or Days of Wine and Roses, and you don't see this about men so much. So that was kind of interesting, in that it was about this guy struggling with his demons and sort of edging ever closer to hitting bottom.
Yeah, maybe I'm a fool for, I literally try not to pay attention to trailers as much as possible. So I didn't know that it was going to be sort of a movie about alcoholism and about a guy sort of, will he, as you said, face his demons. They, and I like that. And it did very quickly reminded me, more of the Lost Weekend than Days of Wine and Roses. But I hear you, they do seem to be about women now. And this was a very serious movie. It was a grown-up movie to me. And afterwards, we saw each other afterwards, and you said something which led me to believe right away. I was like, oh, Alonso didn't like it. And I just sensed, just from like one word that you said, I thought, I think I'm going to agree with everything that Alonso has to say, and yet I'm still going to end up liking this movie a lot, and he's going to end up hating it. So
what was that word?
That word was, first of all, that word was, but that was more directly related to just the ending, which is definitely worth an
Well, y'all like this movie more than I did, so do your thing, and I'll talk about my problem.
Yeah, this movie worked for me. The beginning part, the plane disaster, is terrifying. Yeah. And there's a moment in that when he's talking to the head of the flight crew, the stewardess, and has her say something for the benefit of the black box. And that really got me. I found that this movie hit a lot of emotional moments. It does get kind of melodramatic, but I was okay with that because I bought it. I bought what Denzel was going through, what his character Whip was dealing with.
Whip Whitaker.
Whip Whitaker. As someone who's witnessed that level of alcoholism, it rang really true for me, and at times was hard to watch.
Yeah, the people around me in the theater, there was a lot of visceral reaction to this movie. That's why I knew that it was overall, I think, going to be liked. First of all, in the plane crash, there was a tremendous amount of, oh, Jesus, oh no, oh. But even and then moments when you think maybe he's not going to drink, and then he drinks, and there's a lot of moments that are like, okay, this time he's going to at least be sober for these 2 important days in his life, or this week in his life, and then he grabs a bottle, or you see some catastrophe, he goes off the edge. And the people around me were like, oh, no.
Right.
So they were clearly...
you get really involved with the character.
It's kind of a horror movie where don't pick up the vodka, no!
And it is. It's really melodramatic, and it's really kind of ham-fisted at times. I was okay with that. That worked for me.
Okay, here's my beef. I was into it for most of the film. I thought that it was a little showy a version of what alcoholism looks like, but believable, and it all felt consistent, and he was really creating a character and all this. I felt like this movie fooled me into thinking that it was going to be not a bullshit Hollywood Robert Zemeckis movie, and then, without giving anything away, it becomes a bullshit Hollywood Robert Zemeckis movie, and I was like, ugh.
Well,
great.
I mean, I don't think it becomes a Hollywood movie if you throw in bullshit Robert Zemeckis movie, then you automatically, then you feel obligated to hate it. But I don't.
Which I do.
Right, which you do. Like they're especially right at the end. I mean, it's one of those movies where I would say like, hey, can I talk you out of the last 75 seconds? I mean, I try like, can I talk you out of the last 3 minutes? But if I can't give you the last 3 minutes, then just give me the last 75 seconds. Literally, if you take away that last scene,
Right.
I have the feeling I leave with is.
I would say the last 10 minutes.
I hear you. I think it gets progressively worse each minute, and then the final scene was the first time where I was like, I was already
Right.
like, I don't want this ending, and then the last one hurt me.
You could change just the ending of this movie and turn it into something that would not be awards bait, that would not make Oscar voters feel better about themselves, but that would actually be emotionally honest and give this movie a real heft that I think it maintains for a good chunk of its running time and then completely pisses away.
I agree conceptually. I don't agree in practice because I think you could. First of all, I think if you'd ended it 10 minutes early, it would still be an awardy kind of movie. I still think it was already there.
Well, you can really only have a Leaving Las Vegas once in a generation.
Right, but I mean, I like the part. I mean, the whole movie is this part, but I mean, I like the idea of sort of the controlled alcoholism. I mean, it's raging and it's wrecking his life.
But he's highly functional.
But he's highly functional, and I liked all that. All that. I was as Matt Cully was. I was heavily, to use a phrase that I certainly use too much. I was definitely emotionally invested throughout the overwhelming majority of the movie, to the point where the end was a little irritating, but it didn't dampen the entire spirit of the film.
All right, let's do scores, then I have something else I want to bring up.
All right, so I gave it an 8.1. I liked it a lot, and I thought he's great in it. We have to quickly mention the supporting characters.
Yes.
Don Cheadle was great. John Goodman is sensational in it.
Yeah.
Kelly Riley.
Kelly Riley was good.
And
Bruce
Cheadle and
Greenwood.
Goodman don't do anything that you don't normally see them do, but it's like watching a jazz musician hit the riff that you love to hit.
It's a greatest hits.
It's a greatest hits, but they're great in it.
We're going to give scores in 30 seconds, but I'm going to make a point that Christy made because she's not here, and she made it in her review, and I spoke to her on the way in today. There's the music is so
on the nose.
Right? I mean, and one thing that I had missed. I mean, John Goodman shows up, and it's Sympathy for the Devil.
Yeah,
and he's supplying.
It's like Forrest Gump all over again with the super obvious music choices. Zemeckis, stop it.
After colleagues sort of help him get sober, but with the use of cocaine in the elevator. It's a Muzak version of With a Little Help from My Friends.
Yes.
Like everything is right on. We're like, all right, I got it. Okay, but the supporting cast was great. I gave it an 8.1.
I give it an 8. It's ham-fisted and it's really obvious. It still worked.
It's ham-fisted, it's really obvious, it bugged the hell out of me how it ended. I give it a 4. So,
wow, you took it way down. If the ending had been better, where were we headed?
I would have 7.5.
Oh, so it really...
that ending kiboshes this movie for me.
All right, that's a 6.7 overall. Seems like very surprising to me if he didn't get an Oscar nomination.
Yeah, I think he'll get an Oscar nomination.
Well, yeah, you play a drunk, they love that.